Hello and good morning, Andy. How are you doing today?
Hi, Aaron. I'm fine. Sorry there's a slight delay, but here now.
What an amazing book. This is my entire childhood. I mean, to touch these photos, to be able to really get really up close and personal. This had to have been one fantastic journey for you.
Oh, yeah, a very long journey. It's great to actually see, the final product. Yeah, there's kind of... The publisher asked me to work out how many hours it was. It was about 10,000 hours just of processing. And then, of course, to research all the images and write the book and the captions and the extra chapters. It's been all I've really thought about for 3 years, probably. So to finally see it and hold a copy in my hands was, quite a moment.
Not only are the pictures amazing, but you're right, those captions, because those captions get inside my imagination and it deepens the story within that photograph.
Yeah, I'm glad you've said that, because I want people to realise it isn't just a photo book. The captions were important. It was also important to keep them on the same page. There's been books before where there's been some information at the back of the book. Mm-hmm. And with it being such a big book, you're kind of flicking, to and from. So to have them on the page was very important. But design-wise, I didn't want the text to steal your eye. So the concept of the book is, as you turn the page, it's like you're strolling through a gallery.
Yes.
So the information's there if you want it, but it can't the photograph has to be the star of the show. And so that's why it's in kind of a muted, kind of moon grey colour. But yeah, and a very important element of the book.
Putting together the front cover, there had to have been hundreds of photos that you could have chosen, but this one is the perfect one. This one speaks out to the future of space.
Yeah, I was keen not to have something too obvious, because there is a lot of new stuff in the book. So to represent the fact that there are a lot of images that have even never been seen or are very rarely seen. It's also an ideal one because it's a person. I want to reveal the human side of these missions. We're so used to seeing anonymous figures, a puffy white spacesuit and a gold visor. And even seeing that human form on the moon, you can connect with them more. You can get a sense of scale. You can say, wow, there's a person there. But actually, when the visor's up, or if you're looking on board the spacecraft and you see these young, the kind of early to mid-30s men doing these incredibly extraordinary things, that's when you can really connect to them. And the cover, just does that, I think. It's also an image that was in a very, very bad state before, so it's almost never seen. And we've now got this, this atmospheric cinematic portrait. So, it was also a very historic moment, in fact. So I researched all the photographs in the book. I spoke to Rusty Twykart, who actually took that photograph. And Rusty said to me, I can't tell you just how hard, it's Jim McDivitt, by the way, in the photo, he was the commander of Apollo 9, how hard he's concentrating in that moment, because they're undertaking the first ever docking in space between two crewed spacecraft. Wow. So, and it's a very high pressure moment, and it's a very difficult task. So he's also concentrating very hard in that photo. So yeah, nearly impossible. There's 400 images in the book. So to narrow down from 35,000 is hard, and then to pick one, just one to go on the book, it's a near impossible task. But I'm really happy that that's one we chose.
We've got something in common, Andy. We've both been blessed with the opportunity to share incredible conversations with astronauts. I love listening to them share their stories as well as their vision of outreach. They've always got something that's very positive to share.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some amazing resources online when you start to dig around. I mean, I just love reading the transcripts. This was part of the research I did, is to the voice transmissions were taped, and they've been they're now transcripts that you can just read, and you could read them for days. The whole mission of what they were saying, semi kind of offline, if you like, and just to hear what they're talking about when they're undertaking these incredible moments in history. And later, yeah, a lot of them have been involved with their outreach with there's things called NASA Oral History. So if anyone searches that online, there's in-depth interviews with not just the astronauts, a lot of the key personnel from back in the day. And there's so much information out there, and I could devour, anything I can, really. I've always been, obsessed with the Apollo landings.
The book we're talking about is Apollo Remembered. It's coming out at the perfect time because with Artemis recently happening, with SpaceX up there right now, with the missions to Mars and things like this. This book is such a storyteller in the way of saying, before all of this in 2022, there was a story, and we can never forget it.
Yeah. I hope it helps get people excited about the future. Mm-hmm. You came up with a great idea there. That might have been a better title, Apollo Remembered, because that's what we're doing with it. It's Apollo Remastered.
Yes,
actually. So as in remastered.
Oh my God! I'm unbelievable. I just noticed that. I've got the book right here, and I'm going. It is remembered, right? But unbelievable. But thank you for that.
Maybe that'll be the next book.
Please.
Maybe I need to introduce that. That's a good idea. But you're right. Although it's Apollo Remastered, it does allow us to remember and to highlight the history, and get people excited about the future. Of course, Artemis 1 is actually on its way back from the moon right now, and Artemis 2. So the next time that goes, we're going to have people on it finally. Although they won't land, we'll have people at the moon for the first time in over 50 years. So really exciting times.
Yeah. Duke leaving that photograph behind. Oh my God. When I landed on that photograph and then to read the caption, I'm still moved by it. I've got the shivers. And that's the kind of emotion that you put into every one of these pages.
Yeah. Sorry, which photograph was that, Arrow?
This is the family photograph that was left on the surface.
Charlie Duke, yes, on Apollo 16.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so that's one of the few human moments of Apollo. Of course, Apollo was very technical. The astronauts were engineers or hard-nosed test pilots. They were trained to subdue emotion, really, because emotion gets in the way of making the right decisions as a fighter pilot, which is the kind of background. And going to the moon, they need to be incredibly focused. So there aren't that many human moments, but yes, Charlie Duke provided a few, and the photograph you mean is he took a family portrait that was taken in his backyard at home to the moon, placed it on the lunar surface, and took a photograph of it. And it is a really poignant one. I like the fact that surrounded by it is clearly something that's just got no life at all. It's this grey dust that's been there for untouched for 3.5 or more billion years, and then suddenly here's a splash of colour, something very human, a family portrait that we can see, and it just hits you that they were humans making these missions, and it's a shame that there weren't more human moments actually during Apollo. But I try to bring those out by highlighting the people. So we tend to see anonymous figures in these puffy white spacesuits, but when you can see with the 16mm film in particular that I use a lot in the book, we can now almost step on board the spacecraft and ride along with these space explorers on the greatest ever human expeditions. And we can see them, these men in the early to mid-30s, doing this absolutely extraordinary thing. And I think it's when you see those human moments that it really hits home.
Wow. Andy, you've got to come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you. I love talking about space, and I love where your heart is.
Oh, thank you. I'd love to. Anytime.
Excellent. Will you be brilliant today, okay, sir?
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time, Arrow, and your interest.